Good evening. It's the latest episode of ChrisCast. I would say this is episode 3. It is Sunday. It is June. It could be any day. I think it might be... I don't know what date it is. It doesn't really matter now, does it? Nobody's holding their breath for these episodes yet. These are the early episodes. These are the early days before anybody really listens. This is before I really and truly find my own voice. This is before I find comfort and solace in all of you. This is before I discover my own humor and my own intrinsic entertainment value. Or this is before I give up. We'll see. Only time will tell. The reason why I'm finally doing podcasts is because I'm helping a friend with her podcast, and I have been listening to podcasts since my first iPod, which must have been, 2000... Hey Google, when was the first iPod? Wow, must have been. Wow, must have been like right there, like 2001, 2002. Hey Google, when was the first podcast? Audio blogging back to the 80s, I dare say. Began to catch hold in late 2004. Hey Google, when did Adam Curry start his first podcast?
On the website computer.howstuffworks.com, they say podcasting was developed in 2004 by...
Well, I guess it started in 2004. I had... I feel like I did it earlier than that, but I do know that in 2004, 2005, 2006, they were offering things free, or not free, inexpensive conferences called pod camps. And they were open source. They were, anybody could participate, anybody could do a presentation. It was sort of by us, for us. It was very influenced by the Linux camps and by the other kinds of camps. Now, most of the camps out there are WordPress camps. Very beautiful way of learning together. It's the first ones I ever went to were in Boston. They were pretty much run by Christopher Penn and Chris Brogan and CC Chapman. That's the trinity of Massachusetts social media holiness and marketing. But I never got into it. I never did it until now. I did a little bit of something like it, but it was more like I was really involved in this platform called Utters, or Utterly, where I would participate in an audio, verbal, storytelling river of conversation. It was a lot like message boards, verbal message boards, where you could listen to the people you follow and then not just reply in general, but reply specifically to them or send them direct messages or whatnot. And I loved that there were 800 numbers that you could call, and you can embed things into your blog. It was amazing. But wasn't until I realized how easy it was to do when I started ChrisCast by just uploading stuff directly to Squarespace. And then after that, Paul Swenson told me about this thing called Anchor.fm, which is free and which appeals to me greatly because I'm right now yelling at my Samsung phone, my S8 Active, on a Sunday afternoon. I don't feel like getting up and doing the whole Audacity thing with my proper headphones, or I don't have headphones, my proper Zoom M2 mic. And I missed my favorite radio show. I missed the beginning of Johnny Dollar on the big broadcast because I was watching a really dumb movie called Sahara with Matthew McConaughey. And earlier, I was watching YouTube videos. I'm in the middle of a 1 meal a day diet, which has been very effective for me because A, I don't spend a lot of money, and B, I just have one very large meal once a day, and then the rest of the time, which it ends up being like 23 hours and 45 minutes. For that length of time, all I do is drink water and coffee, and more water than coffee. It's and they say that at someone my size, it doesn't really matter how much I eat during the one meal I have, but today it was 1,883 calories, which is almost 400 calories more than I'd like to have eaten. Today wasn't a very active day, and this podcast is going to be pretty random. After I ate, I came back here. While I was eating, I went to go to Burrito Brothers to get a burrito, but I ended up it was closed today. It started closing on Sunday again, so I went to Giant Foods and just bought some prepared food. That was complete garbage compared to the wonderful stuff at Whole Foods. I should have walked there. But it was almost 1 o'clock by the time I got there, so I was getting hungry, didn't want to walk for another 45 minutes to get to Whole Foods. So the highlight of that meal was a tuna fish sandwich and some a shrimp salad, which was effectively Old Bay was added to it, which if you're not a denizen of the Mid-Atlantic, you might not know Old Bay. It's a type of seasoning that's very popular on crabs, especially in Maryland. In Maryland, crabs, it's hard to get it without Old Bay. If you go to a restaurant and you want to have your crabs without Old Bay, what they do is they just wash them down for you. They don't cook them separate. Some people like to get heavy on the Old Bay, but I think it's honestly cooked with it. I like it well enough, but if you like crabs, why would you want Old Bay all over it? That said, I love crawfish done the hot Louisiana style. So I guess a lot can be said about that. I guess bottom feeders are bottom feeders, and unless you get a really beautiful claw or a really beautiful lobster tail, really it's sort of part and parcel is to have the seasoning and maybe have the butter. But anyway, after that happened, all the while I was listening to today's episode of No Agenda Show, and that's a big influence as to why I started podcasting, because to be honest, I truly believe that the only people who are going to care enough to listen to any of my podcasts are the friends that I've made in the No Agenda community and the people who spend time in noagendashow.com. So I'm really kind of speaking it to them and speaking it, as I said before, this episode is not 24601. 24601. It's not part 2 of that. I really want to kind of think ahead before I talk about my childhood. I don't even think I did a good job in the 24601. This is just Sunday night update. So I listen to, it's 3 hours twice a week, so it's 6 hours of No Agenda Show. And to be honest, when I finally got home after eating, I fell asleep, so I don't really know that much about what they talked about. But I do know that it's an inspirational show, and I know that it's a cult of personality, and I know very deeply that it is a very It's a very, comment dire, it's like poetry in the fact that you can't define. The intent is really based on the people who listen to it, right? So, unfortunately, there are a lot of very conservative people. There might be a little bit of leftists, extremists, and definitely extreme rightists. People have gone really out of town recently in some of the message boards and forums. Even on No Agenda Show, I've had to block some people. But I really value spending time in places where I get to see a whole beautiful, complete rainbow, and not just an echo chamber of liberal elite. That's been manifest since the very beginning, since I first started attending Renaissance Weekend. And Renaissance Weekend really does err to the side of being a little bit Democrat left, like not extremist left, but that typical socially liberal, fiscally conservative kind of vibe, where you don't see any innate conflict between taking a job on Wall Street while still professing for the nobility and honor of homeless people living in Manhattan or DC or San Francisco or whatever. You don't see the fact that it's your housing and your purchases and your rent that make it impossible for other people to afford living in your town. It's that blindness to your being part of the problem that allows you to be part of the solution. And you can't say no, because there's not a non-profit, not-for-profit charity anywhere that doesn't grovel at the silk helm of the rich. So you kind of need to allow them to have their crazy bifurcation between the damage they do and the mea maxima culpa. But they never really turn around. They never really have a metanoia. They very rarely commit to the... I know that they were manipulated by the Templaristic concept of giving up all of your worldly possessions in order to commit yourself to God and to the poor. I'd like to see a lot more of that, but it just doesn't happen, and it doesn't help our economy at all if everybody renounces their wealth and then becomes a priest serving others, or even a non-religious. I guess NGO people. I guess the altruistic, in many cases, are atheistic versions of the Christian intent of altruism and charity. Anyway, I don't want to spend the entire time talking about hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is all over. This is really just sort of a riffing, ranting. You can just skip this. If you're gonna go any further, I didn't really write any notes or anything else. What does my day look like? I've been really trying to get enough sleep every night. It's not as easy as it sounds. I used to think that people would be impressed by me if I could live and thrive on 5 hours of sleep a night. It was the kind of thing where I'd brag that I was working 18 hours a day. And then I wanted to just give myself 8 hours of sleep a night. And that meant that I went to sleep at 10 and got up at 6, right? That's 8 hours continuous, 8 contiguous hours. And then I got a stupid frickin' Fitbit, and I realized that the way I sleep, which is fitfully, it really takes a commitment of 9 or 10 hours of downtime to be able to collect proper 8 hours of sleep. And that is a real commitment. That is a commitment of almost, geez, it's no longer a third of the day. It's closing in on a half a day of my day. So that is a challenge. Sometimes I do nap. It depends on how my day's going. I do say that, unfortunately, I think that the napping gets in the way of the exercise. As I said before, I'm doing one meal a day. I'm hoping that fasting and hydration and limiting my calories, but also giving my body plenty of time to what is it called? Giving my body plenty of time to process the food is also valuable. It's going to help me with my hormones, with my blood, with my cravings. Hopefully it'll also result in possibly a lower appetite. Although eating 1,500 calories in one meal might stretch the belly some, right? As opposed to, eating a lot of little tiny meals and not in between meals. So if I ate 500 calories for breakfast and then lunch and then dinner, and then nothing in between meals at all except water and maybe some coffee and tea, that would in fact make my stomach shrunk. It would shrink my stomach more than if I had one giant anaconda, boa constrictor, egg-eating snake type of one belly-busting meal, very literally the size of a burrito, and then let my body process and digest that going on. What I have done and what I have committed to, which I'm going to try to do tonight with a sidebar, that if you haven't been walking a long distance, even if you wear under things that are stretchy, here's a secret. Fat people with flabby thighs often tend to wear Lycra under things so as to prevent the rub. But what I've done the last 2 nights is I've gone out for between 90 minutes and an hour, just walkabout of the neighborhood. I brought my headlamp and listened to podcasts and took photos and wore my GPS watch and meandered and wandered and 90 minutes later I was done. Last night was actually pretty fun. It was I took a different route, which took me along took me along 27. I walked from my apartment to Columbia Pike down. I'm gonna go post it on RN&R if you're curious. Today is, hey Google, what is the date today? Sunday, June 16th, 2019 at around 1940. So my rnnr.us post should be up not long after I post this. I walked from here down Columbia Pike towards the Pentagon and then took a left on a bike path that went along 27. I went to 27 until the exit for 110, which took me into the Pentagon parking lot, and then walked along the Potomac, not the Potomac, walked along Pentagon, I guess, Yacht Harbor, along there until I got back to the South parking lot. Excuse me. And I was about to be like, oh, do I want to it was like 3 miles, and I said, do I want to walk all the way for another mile home? It's uphill, and I'm kind of tired, and it's after 10 o'clock, and out of nowhere, the right bus, 16E, that was going to ultimately take me up to Columbia Pike and drop me off right outside a kilometer from my building, shows up. I look at him, he looks at me, he opens the door, I jump on, he's like, are you lost? Do you know where you're going? Where are you headed? And I had my bus pass because I carry all my stuff in a chest pack made by Hill People Gear. And it's a giant one, original size version 2 maybe. And I had my bus pass, and I kept on thanking him as I drove up there. And I remembered to turn off my Garmin Forerunner 910 XT, and was home in no time. But he said to me, "Done with your workout?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Jump on board." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to walk the hill." So I didn't. But that's okay. That's the entire ecosystem working together, right? So I can go on a dumb walk in any direction I want, and at the end of the day, there's always going to be a bus or an Uber or something like that out there that'll be able to pick me up. So I really don't have to care about the full round trip. Now, this is only spirited walking. I aspire to start running in the next few weeks, but I want to make sure that my undercarriage is going fine. I don't have all kinds of heat rash or the kind of rash that happens when you don't run in a long time or walk in a long time and little hairs between your legs get all knotted together and pull each other out by the roots and give you an awful heat rash kind of thing. I'm trying to get over that, or any type of rubbing in your shoes from lack of use, and from rubbing, and from the wrong socks, and from just anything like that. Give my feet a few weeks to get used to being out there and out for like several hours at a time. Like I said in the previous episode, being 350, I weighed myself, 331 pounds, and going for a long walk, even if it's a regular walk and not a run, is similar to being like Hercules, and but the other way around, having a Benjamin Button bull on your back. And as you lose weight, as I went from 350 to 331, my bull lost, lost 19 pounds. Is that right? Hey, Google, subtract 331 from 350.
The answer is 19.
19 pounds. Got it right. Basic math, subtraction, elementary school. So as I move forward, inshallah, that will become more and more of less and less of an issue. The weight upon my frame, I just lost 19 pounds over the last few weeks. So, that's the equivalent. Hey, Google, how many kilograms is 19 pounds?
19 pounds is equal to 8.618 kilograms.
I just lost an 8 kilogram kettlebell, which is what they give to lovely ladies and weak men for their first kettlebell. I lost an introductory kettlebell of weight, and so that's a little bit less off of my dear shoulder bull. And then hopefully I'm hoping to get a 24 kilogram kettlebell off of me, which is US 53. Hey Google, how many stone is 53 pounds?
53 pounds is equal to 3.786.
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of another 3.78 stone. Hey Google, what's the difference between 331 pounds and 220 pounds?
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help.
I said it wrong. But anyway, over 100 pounds still left to lose in order to become really svelte and dead sexy. Although, between you and me, I start to become irresistible at about 240 pounds is when I become dead sexy. So just to, give it to you straight, I'm too sexy for my fat. Too sexy for my fat. So sexy I wear a hat. One of the things I learned about on YouTube is that is how difficult it is for most people to do regional dialects. And there's one amazing guy who's a language coach and an accent coach, and he did every single one so spot on. I forgot his name. I should look it up, but I'm talking into the phone that I'm recording on. That would have the answers for me. Anyway, hey Google, can you tell me what my most recent YouTube videos I watched are?
One more time.
Can you tell me what my most recent YouTube videos are? Well, whatever. She's a terrible co-hostess. Alexa, do you want to be the co-host of my podcast?
I don't know that one.
She doesn't know that one. You probably can't hear her. So I was going to be trying in the next few weeks. I'm going to try a bunch of accents to see how I do. Hopefully the tastefulness police won't come in and call me an awful insulter of all things racial and cultural. But I will try to do some southern accents and some regional dialects and some French accents and all that other kind of stuff. And you guys can let me know in the comments how appalling I am, all right? I'm going to stop now because it's getting a lot long and there was no trend at all in this. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off of here, upload it with a lot of silly, funny sounds before and after it, and then I plan to upload the walk that I took last night onto rnnr.us runner, my runner blog, and then try to get a little bit of work done before I need to get out of the stocks running tomorrow morning as early as possible while still trying to get a full 8 hours of proper sleep. So wish me luck, and I'll be doing a lot of these. So, but I might start them off in the future with you gotta just let this one go. This is a ramble versus the ones that are topical, like the next one that I'll do, which is going to be 24601 Part 2. The intermediate, the St. Louis years, where I will talk about being 5th grade, 6th grade, living downtown Honolulu, taking the bus to Aliamanu, begging my parents not to send me to Central Intermediate School, which I heard was going to be, talking about Howley culture and Kill Howley Day and what it was like transferring to 7th grade at an all-boys Catholic school, and how lucky I was to do that, and how I don't know how my parents pulled it off, but I think that my Pop secretly paid some bills without insulting my dad's honor or letting me know. I have a feeling that makes sense, right? He paid for my college, and I went to GW, which is an expensive college, and I got some stuff paid for, grants and stuff, but outside of that, it was mostly him. And we never talk about, tuition is one thing, but everything together is like $12,000 to $20,000 more a year, in addition on top of the tuition. So we'll talk about my mom and my dad. We'll talk about growing up in Hawaii, what it was like leaving there. We'll talk about dating. We'll talk about my seduction strategy. We'll talk about JROTC and Ranger Club. Man, that's not going to be all in one episode. I can't do that to you. So my name is Chris Abraham. You can email me at chris@garriscorp.com or chris@abraham.su. You can reach me at chrisabraham.com, and you can text me at 202-352-5051. +1 202-352-5051. It's 29 minutes and 33 seconds, so I'm letting you go. Ciao.